Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Marco, reporting for the Truth Channel on the highlights of the proposed new guidelines by President Trump and the coronavirus task force to reopen America again. This is a three-phase proposal. This approach is based on the advice of public and health experts. Very important. These steps will help state and local officials when reopening their economies, getting people back to work, and continuing to protect American lives. To see the specific on this phases, please go to whitehouse.gov, opening America, and you can see it for yourself. We're going to be reporting on this here, and we have four charts to show you. The first chart is the criteria of the approach itself, and on that we have the proposed phased approach that is based on up-to-date data and readiness. It mitigates risk of resurgence, protects the most vulnerable, the implementable on statewide and countywide basis at governor's discretion. This proposed state or regional guiding criteria goes as follows: satisfies before proceeding to phase comeback. So it talks about symptoms, cases, and hospitals. And it goes on to say the core state preparedness responsibilities. Very important, so that states understand what their obligations are when it comes to reopening America. You have what's the testing and the contact tracing that will deal with the ability to quickly set up safe and efficient screening and testing sites for symptomatic individuals and trace contacts of COVID and results. The ability to test symptomatic indicated persons of COVID and trace contacts of COVID results, and so on and so forth. And you can read that for yourself if you go to the link below and see this later on today. Also part of the responsibility on this preparedness for state and local governors, health and system capacity, ability to quickly and independently supply sufficient personnel, protective equipment, and critical medical equipment to handle dramatic surge in need, ability to surge ICU capacity. Plans protect the health and safety of workers and criteria industries. And again, these are part of the guidelines for local for core state preparedness responsibilities. It deals on this proposed phase approach guidelines and responsibilities. You have the responsibilities of the individuals, which is to continue to adhere to state and local guidance, as well as complementary CDC guidance, particularly with respect to face covering. The mask, very important. To continue to practice good hygiene. It tells you how this is done there, how to avoid touching your face, and so on and so forth. What people who feel sick should stay at home. Very important. And it also has guidelines of all phases for employers, such as develop and implement appropriate policies in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations and guidance for informed by industry best practicing regarding social distancing and protective equipment, temperature checks, sanitation, use of disinfection, and common highlighted traffic areas and business travel. Monitor workforce for indicative symptoms. Do not allow symptomatic people to physically return to work until cleared by medical provider. Develop and implement policies and procedures for workforce contact tracing following employee COVID-19 tests. And now, Leo, if you can put the chart for phase one. As I told you, we have 3 phases. What I just read was the approach and the guidelines and the obligations of individuals and employers to this new guidelines by the Trump administration and the coronavirus task force. So we have 3 phases again, 3 simple steps like that show on TV, Agent Oso. 3 simple steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we have phase one. We have, for individuals here, all vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place. Members of households will be vulnerable to residents. Should be aware that by returning to work or other environments where distancing is not practical, they could carry the virus back home. Precautions should be taken to isolate from vulnerable residents. And who are vulnerable residents? We all know that usually the elder community is at risk. People that have pre-existing conditions are vulnerable individuals that should be being taken care of or protected by these guidelines. So all individuals, when in public, for example, in parks, outdoors, recreation areas, shopping areas, should maximize physical distance by and from others. Social settings of more than 10 people where appropriate distancing may not be practical should be avoided unless precautionary measures are observed. So again, 10 people or more will be a problem. So unless there is measures observed, you should avoid more than 10 people in circumstances. So avoid socializing in groups of more than 10 people. Minimize essential travel. Very important. Pardon me. Minimize non-essential travel. Even if it's America is reopening in your area, you need to avoid non-essential travel. So no time to go visiting your cousin in Florida for a fishing trip yet. For employers on phase one, continue to encourage telework. Very important, as we are doing here. We are tele-reporting. And you should continue to encourage as an employer to do telework. If possible, return to work in phases. Not everybody at once. If you can just start with a skeleton crew and then work up as you go and bring in everybody into the work environment. Close common areas where personnel are likely to congregate, to interact, enforce and strict social distancing protocols. Minimize non-essential travel, again, for employers. No need to be sending everybody everywhere as we are on phase one. Strongly consider special accommodations for personnel who are members of vulnerable population. If, again, somebody is a member of a vulnerable population, a special accommodation is encouraged, strongly encouraged to accommodate such individuals. Specific types of employers, like schools and organizations, organized school activities such as daycare, camp are currently closed, should remain closed. And again, this is phase one for individuals, employers, and specific types of employers. Visit senior living facilities and hospitals should be prohibited. Those who do interact with residents and patients must adhere to strict protocols regarding hygiene. On a specific types of employers, large venues, sit-down dining, movie theaters, sporting venues, place of worship can operate under strict physical distance protocols. Elective surgeries can resume for specific types of employers as clinically appropriate on an outpatient basis at facilities that adhere to CMS guidelines. Gyms can reopen if they adhere to strict physical distance and sanitation protocols. Bars should remain closed. So gyms, we can go back to do physical work. That's a great thing for. So on phase one, you can go back to the gym, start doing exercise. If the facilities adhere to strict physical distancing and sanitation protocols. Very important. So that was phase one. Again, I like to remind you that I have a very, very thick French accent. So excuse my very thick French accents. If for some reason you don't understand what I'm saying, just go to the link below and read this for yourself. This is very important. We have to help help implement these guidelines to reopen America again, and it is very important because you play a big role on this, as the president has said. So we're gonna go to phase one, and Leo in the studio, if you can put the chart for phase two. So phase two for states and regions with no evidence of rebound and that satisfy the gating criteria a second time. So this is phase two, and again, you're gonna see some of the same terms that I just read on phase one. You're gonna see them here as all vulnerable individuals. Again, you have on phase two, you have the responsibilities and the obligations and the criteria to implement phase two for individuals, employers, and a specific type of employers. The vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place. Members of households where vulnerable residents should be aware that by returning to work or other environments where distancing is not practical could carry the virus back home. Precautions should be taken to isolate from vulnerable residents. This is pretty much the same than phase two, phase one for individuals. So again, if you have any questions, go to the link below and read this for yourself. Or if you, for some reason, you forget or you want to go back and reference what you should do, in what group you belong in here. If you're an employer, if you're an individual, or if you are a specific type of employer. So again, employers are continue to encourage to telework. Telework, it's working. Actually, distance learning is working too. Here at home, I'm practicing that with my kids. The teachers are talking to my kids on Zoom, and they're giving them their assignments. It's a great dynamic where my kids are starting to get motivated to talk to their teachers and to show their progress on their homework and things that we're doing. I am getting motivated and seeing and asking my kids how things are doing, going to the kitchen and checking on them and seeing how things are working. So I encourage you to do the same. And telework, it's a great thing. I think that America will change forever after this, and more people are going to be are going to see the value of doing telework. So again, employers on common areas should do the same. Where personnel is likely to continue to congregate, they need to enforce moderate social distancing. So now on the phase two, now the social distance will be moderate. So it goes from strict to moderate. That is the change here. So strongly consider special accommodations for personnel who are members of the vulnerable population. This phase two for employers is pretty much the same as phase one for special accommodations on the vulnerable population. On specific types of employers, such schools and organized youth activities like daycare camp can reopen. So this is the difference on phase two from phase one on the reopening of America. Schools can reopen on phase two. So according to your state or local regulations or whoever is at the top, whoever is calling the shots there, if you are on phase two, schools could be reopened. So now it's up to you to find out which phase your local community falls under, and you should go with that. Phase three, and pardon me, I haven't finished phase. I'm jumping the guy. I got a little excited that we can open school, guys. Pardon me. So visits to senior daycare facilities and hospitals should be prohibited still on phase two of specific types of employers. Large venues, moderate physical distancing, just like gyms. And gyms can remain open to strict physical distancing. So the gyms will still be on strict physical distancing guidelines. Now, finally, on phase two, bars may reopen. Bars may operate with diminished standing room occupancy where applicable and appropriate. So on phase two, bars will reopen for all those that love going to the bars and drink. I don't drink anymore. My drinking years are over, but at one point, bars were very important to me. So I can understand and I can imagine how a lot of people will feel about this out there. So now I'm going to go to phase three, and thank you for your patience. And I thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your continued support here at the Truth Channel. And thank you for liking my Let's Talk About Politics show. I really appreciate you being here today with me. We have phase three, and Leo in the studio, if you can put up phase three on the new guidelines to reopen America again. So we have phase three here, and this is for states and regions with no evidence of rebound and that satisfy the gating criteria a third time. So again, we have individuals, employers, and a specific type of employers. And those are the recommendations, responsibilities, and guidelines. So we go again with vulnerable individuals can resume public interactions, but should practice physical distancing, minimizing exposure to social settings where distancing may not be practical unless precautionary measures are observed. Low-risk population should consider minimizing time spent in crowded environments. So for all those that are, again, people that are vulnerable to this, like the elder community, or also people that have health issues, pre-existing health issues that are vulnerable to this virus, should practice, should minimize crowded environments as well. So employers on phase 3 resume unrestricted staffing of work sites. So now employers should just go back to being unrestricted on their work sites and continue working normal. On phase 3, on a specific types of employers, visits to senior care facilities and hospitals can resume. Those who interact with residents and patients must be diligent regarding the hygiene. And again, gyms continue to reopen, bars may operate, and increase standing room occupancy where applicable. So bars can now have as many people drinking as they want or as they have before. But I think forever we'll practice social distance now. We're gonna, and hygiene. I think I think America will change for the best with this. I think we're gonna learn something from this, that we take a lot of things for granted. And thank you for watching. Please stay with us. We'll come back with more on this guidelines to reopen America and the updates. President Trump to continue to rebuild our economy back to what it was or even better before. Talk to you soon.